Soft ambient hum. Streetlights flicker over cracked sidewalks. A faint dog bark echoes through a quiet neighborhood, but no one seems to notice. They said dogs forget, that they move on, that a leash or a new name erases everything. But you can't erase memory. You can't rename what's been burned into the soul. The night Judge Randall Huxley walked back into his gated mansion, something felt off. He couldn't place it, just a twinge, like the way silence feels to clean after a storm. His driver had dropped him at the gate. Said the cameras at the side of the house had been glitching all week. Said the motion sensors needed recalibrating. Randall waved him off. Said he didn't need tech to feel secure. He was the law in Cold Springs. He was the reason silence stayed silent. He didn't hear the growl until his key touched the front door. It wasn't loud. It was low, coiled, and close. By the time he spun around, the growl was gone, and so was the night's stillness. Only the wind moved now, and somewhere in the hedge, two eyes blinked once, then vanished. Inside, his hallway lights flickered. The bulbs had been replaced last week. State-of-the-art motion sensors. But tonight, they hesitated, just like they had that night in court, when Randall had silenced the courtroom before the defense even finished their sentence. When he pointed at Eric's client, a young black man with a record from 10 years ago and a service dog with a scarred ear, and called the whole case an abuse of the court's time. "You want to cry over a dog?" he had said, scoffing. "Maybe next time pick a victim that talks." The transcript never captured the laugh that followed, but the dog had heard it, and more importantly, remembered. Back then, they called the dog Chance, a rescue mutt. Black coat with a white streak down its back. The streak had turned gray since then. His new name? The shelter called him Bishop, but he only responded to silence. Eric remembered the day Chance was dragged from court. The officer escorting them whispered something about dogs like that never learning their place. That was the same officer caught 6 months later planting evidence during a drug raid. And guess who signed the warrant without reading it? Judge Huxley. But here's the thing about covering tracks. When you bury too much, the ground starts to shift. The roots crack concrete. And secrets don't stay secrets, they just grow quieter until someone starts digging. Eric wasn't just suing the court anymore. He was pulling threads. The officer was step one. A corrupted warrant tied to falsified dog aggression reports. Documents traced back to a clinic that didn't exist, except on paper. A paper that led back to a bank account. And the owner of that account? Randall Huxley. And this time, Eric had something the judge couldn't strike from the record: DNA. From Chance's blood, left on the judge's property on a boot print found near the woods. Thing is, Chance had vanished years ago, after the trial, after the verdict, after the accidental shelter fire that took out 3 kennels and dozens of dogs, but not all of them, not Chance. He'd run, and while the news reported him as one of the likely casualties, Chance had never been one for statistics. He stayed hidden, reappeared in whispers, videos, trail cameras, a ghost dog with a scarred ear and a streak down his back, always near power. Always watching. Eric had followed the trail for 2 years, and now, as Randall locked his doors and poured a drink that night, Chance sat outside watching, waiting. The next morning, the court clerk found something disturbing. All of Judge Huxley's recent case files were shredded, not just torn, surgically destroyed, but only the cases involving 3 specific officers, and only the one stamped urgent in red. The clerk tried to review the court's internal server. The password had been changed. The name of the new account holder, Bishop. That same morning, an envelope arrived at Eric's office.no return address. Inside, a USB stick and a photo. The photo showed a burned shelter from 5 years ago, but in the corner, a dog, half-shadowed, scarred ear, staring at the camera, and in the background, blurred but visible, Judge Huxley walking away, coat over his head, from the same shelter the night of the fire. Eric inserted the USB. There were 6 files, all time-stamped. 1 week apart, each showed hidden body cam footage. From inside squad cars, from the courthouse garage, from near the judge's summer cabin, all included muffled audio. The last clip was different. It was recent, a night vision camera, facing the judge's front yard, and just barely lit by the porch light. A dog, motionless, watching. The judge's security log confirmed a break-in attempt that same night. No forced entry, but claw marks on the side gate, and fur, black and white, scarred. They ran the DNA. Chance, still alive, still hunting. Eric took the footage straight to the But the DA was hesitant. "You're saying a dog is targeting a sitting judge?" she asked, half laughing. "No," Eric replied. "I'm saying he was never just a dog." The following week, the judge called in sick 3 days in a row, unusual, especially for Randall. A court clerk went to check on him. The house was unlocked, the alarm blinking red. No sign of Randall, only muddy paw prints across the marble floor, and in the judge's study, on the desk where he signed dozens of suppressions, someone or something had scratched 3 deep lines into the wood. Not across a file, not across the computer, across a framed photo, the judge and his late wife. The glass cracked right down the middle of Randall's face. Back in town, the whispers had started. Ghost dog. Judgment Day. Some said it was staged. Some blamed Eric, said he trained the dog, said it was some kind of protest stunt, but no one could explain why the judge's cell phone had been found at the same abandoned train station from the first trial, nor why the scent dogs refused to go beyond the gate. They barked, they whined, they froze. Even animals know when something older than justice is watching. The mayor called an emergency hearing. Eric was subpoenaed. So was the shelter worker who reported Chance missing all those years ago, but before the hearing began, a strange message arrived on the court's website. 3 words, all caps, "The dog remembers." It was deleted in seconds, but not before every reporter got a screenshot. The hearing was postponed. The panic wasn't, and in the midst of it all, a new video surfaced online. Ring camera footage, nighttime, a suburban street, a man walking a small dog suddenly stops, looking up. The camera tilts, catches a shape crossing the road, large, dark, scarred. The small dog begins to whimper. The man backs away, but just before the clip ends, the shape turns, and 2 glowing eyes meet the lens. The video cuts out, but the final frame lingers just long enough to see something else, a collar tag. Rusted.it reads, "Service Animal, Trial Exhibit A," and underneath it, a new inscription, "We all answer eventually." The same night, Eric's office is broken into. Nothing is stolen. Only one file is touched, the one marked Randall Huxley Witness Statement. It's been opened, and next to it, left carefully in the center of his desk, a small piece of a judge's robe, torn, dirty, and damp, with what looks like blood. Eric calls the police, but before they arrive, he notices something strange. The file isn't just open, it's been added to, typed in the same style Eric uses, only he didn't write it, just one line. "He begged me not to bite." The phone rings. No caller ID. Eric answers. Silence. Then, a single breath, and the faintest sound in the background. Pause, on gravel. Then the line goes dead, and outside, across the street, under the flickering streetlight, a shape, still, waiting, watching, and Eric realizes low wind. A soft hum. Somewhere distant, a train whistle, long and hollow. Sometimes justice comes with a gavel. Other times, it walks on 4 legs, silent and unseen, carrying the weight of everything we tried to bury. Eric hadn't slept. 3 nights since the robe fragment appeared on his desk. 2 since the call. 1 since the camera across the street captured something. No one could explain a figure, still and alert, just beyond the streetlight's reach. Not quite a man, not just a dog. His office smelled like old paper and something metallic. The faint trace of blood, maybe, or fear. The file on Judge Huxley sat open again. Eric hadn't touched it, but this time, there was no new note. Just a single strand of fur, black, coarse, embedded into the crease of the page titled Judicial Ethics Inquiry, 2015 Shelter Fire. That was the year Chance, the dog they tried to forget, was supposedly lost in the flames, but he wasn't. And now, someone or something was reminding them. The press had exploded. Judge missing after dog warning. The dog remembers message sends court into lockdown. Conspiracy theorists latched onto it like wildfire. Activists called it justice. Officials called it a stunt. But Eric? He called it overdue. The deeper he went, the more rot he found. A chain of falsified citations, expunged body cam footage, undocumented raids, always involving the same officers, always signed off by Huxley, the dog. He'd been present at 3 of them, a silent witness, muzzled and ignored until now. Then came the video, unmarked USB, no fingerprints, no metadata, just a grainy clip, a forest trail, night vision, heavy breathing, someone whispering, panicked, "I thought you said he was dead," followed by a long silence. And then, a growl. Not just any growl. It matched an old audio log from the court archives. Trial Exhibit A Chance. Still alive, still hunting, still listening. Eric didn't flinch anymore. He didn't laugh off what the others called paranoia. He knew it wasn't just a dog. Chance had become something else, a reckoning. The final clue came not from law enforcement, but from Linda, his assistant. Quiet, observant, the kind who notices what others dismiss. She knocked lightly and placed a yellowing envelope on Eric's desk. "I found this in the basement archive," she said. Filed under unsorted evidence. No one ever logged it. Eric opened it. Inside, a hand-drawn map, a wooded area outside Cold Springs, coordinates marked in red, and taped to the corner an ID badge. Old, singed around the edges. .it was Huxley's, the name barely legible, but the photo? Eyes wide, as if mid-yell, mouth open, frozen in something between fear and disbelief, like he'd seen something that unmade him. Eric grabbed his coat. 30 minutes later, he was standing where the red X pointed. Tall grass, broken fence, ashen trees still blackened from an old fire, and in the center, a collapsed shed half buried in vines. He stepped carefully. The air felt wrong, dense, heavy, like breath held too long. He pushed the rotting door aside. Inside, cages, rusty, twisted, some still had old collars, burned leather, melted tags, and in one corner scratches on the wall, hundreds of them, all the same height, all clawed into the wood, counting days, victims, nobody knew. Eric crouched, phone in hand, recording everything. Then he saw it, behind the wall panel, a trapdoor, nails rusted, padlock broken from the inside. He pried it open. Stairs led downward. No light, just the scent of earth, iron, and something that didn't want to be remembered. He descended. The temperature dropped. His breath turned visible. At the bottom, an old generator, dead wires, and something that made his stomach turn. A mural, painted on the stone wall. A dog, charred, snarling, with the words above it, "I was loyal," and beneath it, "But you buried me alive." Eric staggered back, heart pounding. Then, a sound, low, wet, like something breathing behind a wall, and a shadow moved, not fast, not threatening, just watching. It stepped into the faint light from Eric's phone. Scarred ear, white streak down the back. Chance, but something was different. He didn't bark, didn't growl. He stared. Calm, heavy eyes like someone older than time itself. Eric knelt slowly. "I know," he whispered. The dog blinked once, then turned and disappeared into the dark. Eric climbed back up. Behind him, the trapdoor slammed shut, but not by wind. When he looked back, 3 claw marks had appeared on it. Fresh. He ran. That night, a letter appeared at the DA's home. No postage. No prints. Inside, a flash drive, a torn judicial robe, and the final missing court transcript. The one from the night Chance was removed by force. The footage on the drive. Huxley bound, blindfolded, sitting in that underground room, alone. A whisper. Off camera, "You sentenced him without listening." Then the light goes out. The next morning, the video was leaked online. The caption, "We all answer eventually." Final statement. Huxley